Okay, y'all, today we're going to talk about police liaisons, what they are, why they're important, and how to be an effective one to protect your community. So first off, a police liaison is someone designated by protest marshals to communicate with police on behalf of activists. Their job is to transmit information from activists to police and vice versa in order to support protest marshals and allow them to achieve their goals. Why is it important to have a police liaison? It's always risky to talk with police, and in a demonstration where you're interacting with police, any misstep, any misspoken word, any aggressive movement could lead to an action being shut down. It could lead to arrests, or it could even lead to violence against activists by police. So it's very important that anyone who is in communication with police needs to be properly trained, properly vetted, and really know what they're doing, because they could make things a lot worse. But there are a lot of benefits to having someone who is properly trained in negotiation and in discussion with police. It calms them down a lot to have someone that they can directly communicate with, and it makes them feel like protest marshals are working with them, even when maybe the protest marshals are just trying to delay and trying to achieve the goals that they have. What are the risks of police liaisons and being a police liaison? Like I said, it's always dangerous and risky to be in communication with police. The goal of police at the end of the day is to make arrests and to enforce laws. And a lot of the time, the goal of activists is to change those laws and challenge those laws and bring public attention to unjust legal circumstances. So a lot of the time, police and activists can be kind of at odds. So anytime you're communicating with police, even when you're well trained, there is a risk to your personal safety and personal freedom. And this is going to change based on who you are. If you're a person of color, if you're a gender non-conforming individual, if you are an undocumented immigrant or an immigrant generally, there are many factors that could lead to your interactions with police being shaped differently. There are also risks to the action in general in having an untrained police liaison or police liaison who makes a mistake. There are small missteps you could make here and there. There are things you could say that you didn't mean to say that could lead to, like I said, an action being shut down, arrests being made, or even violence being committed against activists by police. So it's very important that as a police liaison, you know what you're doing, you think before you talk, and you follow the guidelines that we'll get into in a minute. The risk to your personal safety and freedom is not to be overlooked. And just be aware that sometimes they can focus on you and they can kind of single you out as someone who they consider to be a leader of an action. So, guidelines. Anytime you're discussing with police, as a police liaison or in any other circumstance, be respectful. Police, it's very important for police to feel respected and like you're not trying to make fun of them. Don't be sarcastic. Don't make jokes at their expense. Don't be snarky. Police want to feel respected. They have weapons and they are in a position of authority and they want to feel respected. Do not incriminate others. Do not discuss actions that others have taken. Do not tell them who is an organizer of a certain action. Do not answer their questions about who did what or who went where. Be confident. This is one of the most important parts of being a police liaison. Once you're in communication with them, you need to not be disrespectful, but to be very confident. You need to make it clear that you know your rights and that you are working on behalf of protest organizers in order to help them achieve their goals. You cannot be a pushover and you can't let them boss you around because they will really play off that. Know your role. As a police liaison, you are not a marshal of an action. You are not an organizer of an action. You are not in a position to make decisions. Your only goal and your only job is to communicate on behalf of protest organizers. So don't, if they ask who's in charge, don't say I'm in charge. You could say, I'm not in charge, but I can talk with you. I've been designated to talk with you. And if they are trying to convince action organizers to do something, don't say, yeah, I think we can do that. Just let them know, hey, I'll take that to the organizers if you'd like. and I'll bring back their thoughts on that. Think before you speak. This is one of the most important parts and one of the hardest parts to teach, but as a police liaison, you really need to stop and think before you say anything. There are a lot of questions that police will ask you that you don't realize they're trying to incriminate you, or they're trying to incriminate someone who's part of an action. And you need to be really, really careful about every word that comes out of your mouth, because you should know that it's often being recorded on body cams, it's often being written up in after-action reports by police, and it can be used in court against you, or it can be used to lead to a detention or an arrest of an activist. Make them feel safe. This is probably the most important thing you can do as a police liaison. Police are constantly in fear. And this is not something that's necessarily rational, but they have been trained over many months and years to always be aware of the fact that they might be in danger at any point. And a lot of the time there is a lot of fear drummed up around activists and around protests, and they're afraid, is someone going to attack me? Do all of these people hate police? And especially this can be shaped again by your identity. Are you a person of color? Are you immigrant? Are you a gender non-conforming individual? So guidelines as far as making them feel safe. Keep your hands visible. Do not make quick, sudden movements. Don't lunge towards them. Don't try to hug them or something like that. You need to, keep your distance, move slowly, move calmly, and don't let them feel like you might be a threat to them. Another part of this is wearing professional attire. You don't want to wear your "all cops are bastards" shirt. You don't want to be wearing maybe you don't even want to be wearing all black. Maybe you want to wear business casual attire or something like that, so that they feel like you are, a professional individual who's just here to communicate with them. You're not a threat to them in any way. Now that we have some of the guidelines down for how to interact with police, how do we actually start that interaction with police in the first place? How do we make that approach? First off, don't interact with police unless you need to. If you're at a protest and police show up and they're watching and they're just kind of trying to figure out what's going on, there's no need to start that interaction now. There's no need to give them a direct pathway to action organizers, because that can speed up the process of them trying to shut down an action. So if police show up and they're standing over there and they're just kind of watching, maybe they're on their radio, maybe they're trying to figure out the situation, what's going on, no need to approach them unless it seems like they're trying to approach activists. And then as soon as they are trying to approach activists, you want to step in, introduce yourself, take initiative, and start off that interaction very friendly. Again, approach them in a calm and not a sudden manner. Don't run up to them, but you can just go tell them hey, I'm Lewis, I'm a police liaison, so I've been designated to be a liaison between you and activists. If you have anything you'd like to tell to the group, I can do that for you. And yeah, take initiative. When you're introducing yourself, I like to give my first name and then kind of feel it out from there. So if they immediately ask for my last name, that's an escalation, and I'm going to be aware of that, and I'll just have to kind of decide in the moment. I can either give them my last name, which is kind of to submit to them, or I could let them know hey, I don't think I actually need to give you my last name unless I'm being detained. I don't think that's necessary, but a lot of the time I'll even give them my phone number to make them feel like I'm really here for them. I'm not afraid to give them my information, and I want to make sure that I'm available to them if they need to tell anything to action organizers, especially in an action like a longer march or a large mass action that's going to be going on for many hours. I want to make sure that I give them some way to contact me, or at least I stay right near them. So at the moment then they need to discuss something with activists, they have access to me. Don't be a pushover. So this is really important. And in the initial interaction, you'll get a lot of a feeling of how is this going to go? How are the police feeling about this? Are they upset? Are they worried about the action or what's going to go down? So if they demand my last name, I will usually refuse to give it to them, and I'll let them know like I said, hey, I don't think I need to give that to you unless I'm being detained. My understanding is that I don't need to give you that. And then sometimes they'll tell you, like, you actually are being detained. And that's like, okay, we're really at an escalated situation right now, and I need to let action organizers know. And so at that point, you want to give them your basic identifying information, which is your name, your date of birth, and your address. All things that could be provided on your ID. So you could also just give them your ID. So now that you've made that approach, you're in touch with police, you are receiving information from them, or you're receiving questions from them that they would like to convey to action organizers. There are a couple strategies that you can use to kind of allow this situation to go on as long as you can. The main goal of a police liaison most of the time is to de-escalate police and to allow the activists to take action for as long as they want to. A lot of the time, police are going to be snappy. As soon as they're arriving, they're letting you know, like, hey, we got to get people out of here. This is private property. Or maybe it's, what is the route for this action? We really want to know what route you're taking on this march so we can protect you. Whatever it is, there might be some information that you want to not provide to them. Or there might be a timeline that you're trying to extend by basically delaying them and pushing back that interaction where they're trying to get people to leave. So strategy number one of the most important things is stay in the dark. When I am a police liaison for an action, I make sure that I don't know anything about the action. So there, if we're doing a march, if police ask me, what's the route? I can honestly tell them, I don't know what the route is, but if you'd like, I can go ask the marshals of the action what the route is, and I'll let you know if they tell me anything. Are people going inside the mall over there, or what? Are you going inside any private property during this march? I honestly don't know, so I can go ask if you'd like, and that's a really good strategy. It also makes them feel like we're kind of on the same page here, like they keep me in the dark too, because they know I'll tell you anything I know. I'm kind of on your side on this. Clarify and restate their questions. So even if there is like a high level of escalation going on, if police are telling me, you need to get over there, you need to tell them that they all need to get off this private property because we're going to start making arrests, I'll restate that and I'll clarify, like, okay, so you just want them to know that if they don't leave, they're going to be arrested. Is that correct? And you need them to leave within what amount of time? So I want to, again, kind of delay the situation, clarify and restate their question, and that allows a little bit more time. Maybe somebody's trying to finish a speak out or something like that. That can be a very effective tactic, and it also makes them feel heard and feel understood, and makes them feel like you actually are going to go deliver the correct message. Chain of command is something that I've kind of discussed here already, but this is another great tactic especially for delays. So in line with staying in the dark, when they let me know something, I'm not going to go, if they're asking me what the route is, I'm not going to be able to tell them because I honestly don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clarify and restate, and then I'm going to go let protest organizers know. And sometimes I'll go to protest organizers and then I'll go to a couple other people, kind of throw them off the trail in case they're trying to figure out who's in charge, and to delay that time frame again and to kind of push back the amount of time that activists have, whatever they're doing or wherever they are. De-escalate is another big, important role of a police liaison. And even just using the word, hey, I just want to de-escalate this situation. Police are trained in de-escalation, to an extent at least. They have at least heard that word before. It's like a buzzword for police these days. And they're like, oh yeah, de-escalation, that's good. That's what we want too. So if you're just letting them know, hey, I'm just trying to de-escalate this, I'll let the action organizers know that they have to get out of here. Like, I hear you. Like, yeah, if you think they're blocking that fire exit, I want to let them know right now, because I'm sure they wouldn't want to do that either. I'm just trying to de-escalate this situation. And that kind of, using that buzzword and using that kind of strategy can really calm down police, which is important. So finally, the role of a police liaison at the end of the day is to deliver information from police to activists. So anytime police are telling you something, you want to pay really close attention. Sometimes I'll take notes, especially notes written on paper. That's another way to slow things down a little bit, allow you to clarify, and allow you to know exactly what they're trying to tell you. Maybe they'll ask you 5 questions in a row. They'll ask you, okay, we want to know what's the route? Are you entering any private property? Are you going to lock down to anything? Are people planning on being arrested, or would they like to be arrested? And does anybody have weapons today? It can be any number of questions, and just taking notes, really making sure you know what they're asking so that you can take that to action organizers is important. And the other part of that that's important is, how are they acting? What is their kind of demeanor like at this stage? Because there's a huge difference between police letting you know, if you don't leave, we're gonna have to arrest you, like, we don't want to do that, and if you don't get out of here right now, we're gonna start making arrests, you gotta leave right now. So being able to deliver, one, the information to action organizers, but also your assessment of their demeanor and their kind of the way they're acting at the time can be huge. So I want to go let the organizers know that, hey, they're telling me that they're going to start making arrests if we don't leave, but it seems like they're not really that upset. It seems like we probably have some more time. Or, hey, we got to get out of here right now because they're already getting the handcuffs out. Organizers really need to know, like, what is the demeanor of the police at the time. So those are the basic rules of being a police liaison. There are a lot more to it, and for the most part, you kind of just have to learn as you go. The biggest tip I have to someone who wants to learn to be a police liaison is just to spend time doing it. Shadow a trained police liaison. And if you don't have a police liaison in your local community, there's probably another protest organization or another direct action organization that does use police liaisons. So reach out to your local Black Lives Matter chapter. Reach out to COSECHA or an immigrant rights chapter that you have in your area. Maybe you have an Extinction Rebellion chapter. A lot of the times they will have police liaisons, and you may have to kind of prove your activist chops, prove to them that you're not like an informant or something like that. But let them know, like, hey, I'm trying to learn this, and I would love to assist your community as well once I do know, but can I shadow your police liaison during an action? And you want to take notes. Don't, as a shadow, get in the middle of the liaison and the police. That's not your role, but just kind of pay a lot of attention, especially pay attention to the demeanor of the police liaison and the way that they're using these kind of strategies of de-escalation and delay. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions about how to be a police liaison, you can email me at lewis, Lewis, at dxe.io. Thanks for watching.